This episode of the Good Ship Brothership is brought to you by Roblox. All the games on Roblox are created by gamers like you. Play solo with friends in a variety of indie games exclusive to Roblox. Find strategy, platformer, role-playing, tycoon, and Bitcoin mining games today. Head on over to http://www.roblox.eu today to earn 11% off your first free friend. Roblox, powering imagination. Really, nobody who plays Roblox has friends, but couldn't really work it into the ad.
True, that's fine. Hello, Jason. How are you doing?
I'm good. I got so much sleep last night that I feel like I'm ready to just bounce off the walls. Did you actually? So I fell asleep probably like 1:30. I slept till like almost 11 o'clock. Mm-hmm. Oh man, I haven't slept that late in so long.
Oh, good. Wow, you're hardcore, man.
How about you? How are you doing? I haven't seen you hardly all day.
Doing pretty good. I got a solid 4 hours of sleep. I've downed probably 5 cups of coffee and smelling salts.
5 cups of smelling salts?
Yeah, 5 cups of smelling salts and 1 hit of coffee.
Man, you are hardcore.
Yeah, so my body's shaking itself apart, basically.
But have you been doing a lot of fidget spinning?
Yeah.
Jay's 2 cents did a video on how to build a PC-related fidget spinner, and I was like, well, almost unsubscribed. What? Yeah. And I've been getting, like, ads for fidget spinners and, like...
See, there's something, if fidget spinners were actually what they're called, fidget spinners, then I wouldn't have much of a problem with them. It's the fact that it's now a fashion item. Not only a fashion item, it's an accessory, and it's an excuse to be distracting in public.
But I feel like it's only really a fashion item if you're like part of a specific group of people.
Oh, for sure. It's definitely a branch off. It's the shallower waters of the everyday carry movement. Yeah. The guys who spend $200 on a pocket knife because you gotta have a good blade, man. This is Damascus steel. You seen this? Like, look at the oxidization that they got on this piece.
And I mean, I understand.
And they call everything pieces. That's a nice piece, man.
I understand that people with cancer have to live their life a certain way that's sort of different than the rest of us, but I just don't know that they really need to broadcast it that loudly.
Yeah, I don't think that anybody needs to do that.
Yeah. That stuff is contagious, you know.
Hey, Ben. This one's for you. Chatter music intro. 2, 1, 2, 3.
Ready? So today I actually found this great. I should share the web address.
It's really weird that we've been doing this for like almost a half of a year.
I know.
Wait, when will we be? Because 52 weeks in.
Be episode 26.
No, and then divide
13.
13.
Is this
episode 12?
Oh, nice.
Man, so the next episode will be our 6-month.
And we might have Craigie Baby on. We'll see.
That's true. Yeah, we gotta find something for him to talk about.
Yeah, I know. He really has been listening to Renegade by Styx. I played that song while we were on the retreat, and he was like, "Who is this?" He's like, "This is amazing. I'm not even making this up." And then on Wednesday, he said to me, he was like, "I've had that song on repeat like all week."
Oh my word!
So maybe we should review.
Irish people love Styx. What can I say? Oh. Sorry,
excuse me.
My hand slipped to the piano. There. See, what people don't
You're
understand.
aboard the Good Ship Brothership, the only arts podcast that covers music, film, literature, video games, and
poltergeist activity.
I'm Jason, and this
is my spooky brother Grant, covering the poltergeist.
I'm very scared. Sorry, what were you saying? I just want to get the intro out of the way.
Yeah, that is what we're supposed to do. I feel a little like it's just the tiredness, but I do feel slightly unhinged.
I feel sweaty.
That's why I unleashed the primal scream at the beginning of the podcast.
Okay.
I had to get it out.
Yeah.
Okay, so today, everybody, we are going to be talking about something kind of exciting. I'm quite excited to do this, actually.
Yeah.
Although I wish that we had watched... really? Dude, put your shirt back on. No, put it back on.
I'm so sweaty.
Dude, we're literally 4 minutes into the pod. Put your shirt back on.
So at what point can I not have it on?
Like, when we're past the halfway mark.
Okay. Sorry. I got ahead of myself.
Moses. Guys, you can't imagine what I put up with over here. Trying to take his clothes off all the time. Jeez. Okay. Okay, so today we're talking about kind of something that's a little twofold, which is a movie called Blade Runner, which is a fantastic movie, one of my all-time favorites.
You think it's a fantastic movie.
And the book on which it's based, Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep, by Philip K. Dick. Why don't I just read the Wikipedia for both of them now?
Do it.
You think?
Yeah, because this isn't going to be as much of a
It's not going to be
review
topic
one,
topic
review another. Yeah. It's going to be far more of a conversation about both.
So since the book came first, I'll read the book.
Yeah, okay.
Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep? And this really bothered me. Retitled Blade Runner, Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep? Come on. In some later
They also
printing,
changed the date. Did you hear that?
where it's set?
It used to be set in, I think, 92, and then they changed it to 2021 later.
Well, that's fine.
But why would you modify that?
Well, the movie was shot after the book was printed.
Yes.
The book was printed in
No, I mean,
60...
like, later printings of the book say that the book is set in
really?
2021
that's
instead
weird.
of 1992.
That is strange.
Yeah, see? 92 or later editions 21.
That's super weird.
Yeah.
They must have done that just
Sorry,
because...
keep going.
Anyway. In some later print is a science fiction novel by American writer Philip K. Dick, first published in 1968, which is kind of wild. The novel is set in a post-apocalyptic San Francisco where Earth's life has been greatly damaged by nuclear global war. Many animal species are endangered or extinct from extreme radiation poisoning, so that owning an animal is now a sign of status and empathy.
Which I find very interesting.
An attitude encouraged towards animals, and indeed towards all living things. The book served as the primary basis for the 1982 film Blade Runner. The main plot follows Rick Deckard, a bounty hunter who is faced with killing, or retiring as they refer to it, 6 escaped Nexus 6 model androids, while a secondary plot follows John Isidore, a man of subpar IQ who aids the fugitive androids. In connection with Deckard's mission, the novel explores the issue of what it is to be human. Unlike humans, the androids are claimed to possess no sense of empathy. And now for Blade Runner.
What's our policy for spoilers for these? Because I feel like they're both classic enough that we can probably talk about the whole thing.
No.
No? We're not going to?
No.
Okay.
Because so many times when I've been listening to people do reviews of quote-unquote classics, they're like, oh, it's fine, we'll spoil it. And then it's something I may not have seen. So it'll remain nebulous. I think it's safe to talk about things like character changes.
Yeah.
We'll avoid any specific plot points as much as we can. If we hit on anything that might be a spoiler, we can go back and redact or put a spoiler warning in front of it.
We do love to redact.
That being said, if you have any time, at least watch Blade Runner. Because it's not that... I don't think it's that long of a movie.
No, I think it's around 2 hours, right? 117
minutes. So, like, that's short.
I mean, that's like 2 hours.
Well, true, yeah. Anyway, so Blade Runner. I'm not going to read this whole thing. Blade Runner is a 1982 American neo-noir science fiction film directed by Ridley Scott, who directed Alien and that sort of thing, and starring Harrison Ford, Rutger Hauer, Sean Young, and Edward James Olmos. The film, written by Hampton Fancher and David Peoples, is a loose adaptation of the 1968 novel Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep, as we know, by Philip K. Dick. The film depicts a dystopian Los Angeles, in which genetically engineered replicants, which are visually indistinguishable from adult humans, are manufactured by the powerful Tyrell Corporation. The use of replicants on Earth is banned, and they are exclusively utilized for dangerous or menial work in off-world colonies like Mars. Replicants who defy the ban and return to Earth are hunted down and killed or retired by special police operatives known as Blade Runners. The plot focuses on a group of recently escaped replicants led by Roy Batty, Rutger Hauer, and the burnt-out expert Blade Runner Rick Deckard, Harrison Ford, who reluctantly agrees to take on one more assignment to hunt them down. During his investigations, Deckard begins a relationship with Rachel, played by Sean Young,
Don't
an
get too
advanced
spoilery.
replicant who causes him to question his and the replicant's humanity. That's not a spoiler.
No, that's fair.
That's pretty obvious. And as it says here, Blade Runner initially polarized critics. Like, it didn't do very well in the box offices, like, at all. But this was interesting here. is this? Director's cut was released in '92 after strong response to work print screenings. It made it one of the first films released on DVD because of how heavily in demand the VHS was.
And they say that resulted in a basic disc with mediocre video and audio quality.
And it has been selected for preservation by the United States National Film Registry by the Library of Congress, being deemed culturally, historically, or aesthetically significant.
Interesting.
Yeah, a lot of To Pimp a Butterflies was selected for that too.
I want to hear your thoughts first, because to give backstory, I think what happened first was Grant watched Blade Runner probably some years ago. And then more recently, like a year ago, got more into it, and I don't know how many times you watched it, probably like 10 times or something, I don't know. You think?
Not that many,
Not that
maybe
many?
6.
6 times? And I've watched the movie 3 or 4 times. I read the book a while ago. Grant just read it for the first time recently. And then in preparation for this, I reread extensive notes of like the entire book's happenings this morning.
Which should, in a lot of ways, tell you more about
Yeah, it's a cool overview.
the book than the book itself.
I'm also, while you start giving your notes, I'm going to look up and find the website I used.
And why don't you grab my beautiful Blu-ray copy of Blade Runner itself? Because there's, I don't know, I like having the reviewed item sitting here. We don't even need the puppet. Sorry, little puppet.
Where's my book, anyways?
You mean this book?
Yeah, that one.
Sitting right on the table, literally right in front of you?
Exactly.
Okay, so I'm not quite sure how I'm going to dive into this, but we'll go kind of dovetailing off what you were saying. I have watched the Blade Runner movie a number of times. It's one of my... I don't think... After I watched it for the first time and then a couple subsequent times following that, I consider it to be probably my favorite movie of all time. Now I don't think that's the case, but that is not in any way a mark against it. It really hasn't diminished. It would be in my top 3 for sure. There's just different movies like Embrace of the Serpent where I'm like, that movie is just so good. Anyway, I don't need to get into that. Suffice it to say, it is one of my very favorite movies, and certainly I think probably still my favorite science fiction movie. When people talk about grounded stuff, which they're obsessed with now, in grounded superheroes and grounded this and grounded that, this is a movie that feels truly and honestly grounded, I think, and the book does as well too.
Yep.
As well too. Holy, the book does as well.
Shout out to Raj.
Yeah, thank you, Raja Stone, for indoctrinating me with bad grammar. So the movie is based on the book. This is my conclusion. In the same way that you would watch a film and the dreaded phrase "based on a true story" would come up, and then you Google the true story and you're like, oh, okay, so about 10% of that was real. Yeah.
I think of we were both homeschooled. And back in the olden days, one of the book studies we did was on the real life story of Eric Liddell. Incredible story. It was a great book, the biography of him. Years later, watched Chariots of Fire. Still hold that was one of my least favorite movies of all time.
It's a terrible movie.
Nothing to do with the book.
Terrible.
That's just a little anecdote for free.
So I really don't know where to begin in terms of comparing the two and like contrasting and finding the differences, because there are so many. In the novel, Rick Deckard being the Blade Runner, the android killer hunter, he has a wife. In the movie, he doesn't. In the novel, he's kind of a well-established but sort of more up-and-coming Blade Runner. In the film, he's retired and haggard, and he was the best.
And he comes out of retirement.
Yeah. But in the book, he wasn't. The term Blade Runner appears nowhere in the book.
Does it not?
No. I don't know where they got the term Blade Runner from.
I'm gonna Google that as you keep going.
I'm just trying to think. In the book, much is made of owning animals. The character of Deckard is carrying around... What's it called? It's a... Anyway, whatever. I can't remember.
I don't know what you're
Christie's?
talking about.
He carries around this catalog with him all the time. And it's...
Shoot, I was reading about this today. Keep talking.
He carries around this catalog with him all the time, in which the prices of real animals are listed, and he daydreams and obsesses over owning a real animal. And he At the beginning of the book, we find him with an electric sheep because his genuine animal died and he had it replaced. And an electric animal is seen as somewhat shameful.
Yeah.
Because it's a fakery of the real thing. And his neighbor has a horse and he's jealous of the horse, etc., etc. In the movie, a very brief passing mention of fake electrical animals. I don't think they're even electric. I think they're like genetically built animals. No,
because they have control. Oh, sorry, you're talking about
in the film. Sorry,
yeah, you're right.
In the film, and it's like used as a clue in a mystery which Deckard's trying to solve.
I mean, they mentioned it a few times, the whole electric animals and stuff in the film, but
they do, but it's definitely
not a plot point.
It's nowhere near a plot point. They just say, "Is that a real owl?" Of course, it's not a real owl, and then they leave it alone.
Little tip of the hat.
Trying to find like some more. What are some differences that you can think of?
I mean, I would say the whole latter half of the book is entirely different than the movie for the most part.
The whole book is different than the movie.
In the book, there are 6 escaped androids. He must retire. In the movie, there are only 4, which I really appreciate because I feel like if you had put all 6 in the movie, which is probably what they would try to do
turned
today,
into Kill Bill.
It would have turned into Kill Bill. It would have either been like rushed or had too much action. And what I appreciate about the book is it's only around 200 pages long. Yeah. But it doesn't have much action, and yet it always feels tense. Because I find that...
230.
Yeah. Tension and action are oftentimes in opposition in a good book, right? Like, the less actual running and gunning there is, the more the tension builds. Yeah. And I feel like this book is perfect when it comes to this.
Okay, now let me hop in and do my take of the book. My reading of it, literally. So the book's written in a style which is strangely minimal. It feels older. I think this book has aged more than the film has aged.
I disagree,
but not in a negative way. I think it's gathered some charm, and I think that it's kind of plain muscular, pure explanatory style makes it an easy read. You know, I really could have done with some more prosaic description of the setting, the city, because you really didn't get much of that at all. Like, at all. You never really got too much of this is the world that this is in. I never got that feeling.
But see, I actually, in a way, disagree with you, because I actually think that the style it's written in really lends to the narrative itself. I think that the style is...
I'm not saying that it doesn't. I think it does.
Okay, I thought you said you wished for more description. For me, I kind of like its Spartan, like, minimalist writing style in a sense, because I feel like it matches the sort of weird life that they lead.
But just basic writing. I need to know where these things are taking place in order to fully invest myself in these characters in this world. You need to first build up the world.
Yeah.
It just helps when you can say, oh, the sky was, an ominous color or something. You don't have to go into pages and pages of Cormac McCarthy-esque, description. But just a little bit. It was missing a little bit of that, because I found myself having trouble picturing this setting,
Interesting.
And you can do a lot with that sort of thing, explaining surroundings or stuff. You can get a lot of emotions and thoughts across that you can't in just dialogue. But that being said, I didn't really find the writing style to be too much of a hurdle. But it is definitely dated in the writing style, though the vernacular isn't that strange. The dialogue is somewhat unnatural.
Yeah.
It's very unnatural. But that's not really a big issue. Because
I feel like the dialogue in the film is even more unnatural, to be honest.
I don't think so. But maybe it's just because you hear it spoken.
Yeah, that's possible too.
But anyway, the visions, like the picture of the future that Philip Dick shows us is very retro future.
I love that show.
Yeah, it's a great classic. There's flying cars and there's empathy machine or
Penfield mood organs.
Yeah, mood organ, which is a implant sort. It seems to be an implant sort of thing with there's a thing that you can adjust a setting on that makes you feel certain emotions. So you wake up and you dial in the ready to go off to work and do a great job emotion, and there's like a manual with all these different. That's very cool. I think that Philip K. Dick was heralded a lot from because I've watched documentaries on the making of Blade Runner and stuff, and he's heralded as such a visionary in terms of seeing the future, and I completely disagree. I don't think that that's like in any way a mark against it, but people say it's uncanny how how accurate, and I'm like,
I never thought I'd grip these handles and watch an old man walk up the hill, but yet here we are.
Sounded weird. It sounded really weird.
No,
actually,
not really.
Time to grip the handles and watch the old man.
Yeah.
Anyway, so I don't think that it's at all prophetic.
No.
But that's, completely
It's no
fine.
1984.
Now, one thing that the book made me realize that the film is slightly lacking is in the book, his wife, Iran, which is a weird name, or Iran.
Although that's one thing they got right about the future. Nobody can
Yeah.
be just a normal. No one's named Joe.
Gonna have a normal.
If your name's Joe, write in and tell us. Hey,
I had a coworker named Joe.
that's good.
He's weird.
Was he a good guy?
He's fine.
Okay.
So his wife represents, especially in the beginning stages of the book, complete pure emotion. She refuses to use the Penfield mood organ and have her mood altered. She is purposefully dialing in a depressed feeling because she feels like that's missing, that her life has become artificial and lacking depth because of these stimuli. And then the kind of love triangle thing, I guess, that happened, the weird relationship that happens between Deckard, his wife, Deckard, and the android Rachel. Rachel represents complete lack of emotions, rationality.
Yeah.
And that balance is really, really nice. And it's a very blunt force way to display it with two women.
Yeah.
It's a very simple device, but it really worked for me in the book. I thought that was smartly done, and it didn't hit you over the head with it ever. And it was something that I recognized and realized like halfway through the book, and that makes that a more powerful revelation. There was the one scene, I know I kind of mentioned it to you in how can I say this without making it any sort of a plot spoiler? I guess it's not much of a plot spoiler because it never really purports to be reality. But the fake police station, quote unquote.
Yeah.
I'm so confused by that. It really came out of left field for me. It's like a third of the way through the book, or maybe halfway through the book, and it was just this weird random like sidestep that the book took for a little bit, and jaunted down this weird kind of trippy path.
I think that was a little out of place, and like
it didn't really have anything to do with, and I was just confused when I started reading that section. I was confused when I ended it, and
did I miss a page somewhere?
Exactly, and after I finished the book, I was still confused about it. So that's definitely a mark against it. It was just that whole section. Yeah. I have no idea what it was trying to do, or
I was rereading.
And it was never resolved either.
When reading the summary, I was reminded of that part. And I mean, the place I read it did a great job of explaining what all's going on and stuff. But at the end of the day, it was still just like, where did this come from and where did it go? Like, it's that I don't even really know what else to say about that without getting too spoilery.
Yeah. No, we won't. But there is a section in the book which I read and went, what? Yeah. What? Like none of this is really making.
And then you never went, oh, later on.
Yeah, and one thing I will say for the book, for the characters in the book, is Mrs. Deckard, Iran. In the final few pages, does this amazing but subtle character pivot. And initially, of course, because she's the emotional center, the emotional anchor of the text, I really hated her because she seemed whiny and whiny, basically. Yeah. And then in the final few pages, you come to understand her. And it was a really beautifully underwritten, underplayed character twist that really impressed me, and it was a very, very elegantly handled by Philip K. Dick. So I quite like that. The electric animal stuff, and the real animal stuff is interesting to me. I liked that, but I found it like a little unconvincing, the way this, hardened cop is carrying around a catalog and all he ever thinks about is animals. Although I don't know. I think part of it was just that it failed to do some basic world building for me in terms of just describing the place and getting me into that setting. Mm-hmm. And so then I didn't quite always believe that this guy's obsessed with getting these animals and stuff.
I really Google what that catalog's called, because I wish I could remember.
I thought it was called Christie's, but that's a real auction house that sells real, probably animals.
I actually loved that whole
thing
did, because I think it's a awesome parallel between so you have the electric animals and the real animals, and then the androids and the humans, and I think the comparison between them is really interesting, and I think it kind of hits you in the face like throughout reading the book, just because functionally there's no difference between the animals, and it shouldn't really be something that needs to be kept secret, but yet nobody wants their neighbor to know they have a fake animal because it's looked down upon and seen as less than just...
Well, it's the same way that if you had a fake Louis Vuitton bag or something, you wouldn't necessarily want to... After you showed it off to everybody, you wouldn't necessarily want to go, this is...
Yeah. But then also you have the androids who functionally, physically, are identical to humans with the exception of like their vagus nerve. But yet they are required to hide their true identity from all of the humans because they'll be hunted down, basically.
Yeah. That makes sense, and I track with that. I think that there was just... I never got like fully immersed in the world of the book, and part of that is just the writing style. It's very skeletal, very bare bones. There's no prose in those pages whatsoever. It's very much... It reads kind of like a pulpy adventure book, but there's a lot more thought put into this.
Oh yeah.
Moving on to Blade Runner the movie.
I'm not quite done with the book, but we'll just go back and forth.
Yeah. Moving back to over to the movie Blade Runner now. The opening, that first shot, it bursts onto this hazy, polluted, crazed-looking cityscape, and in 1 second you go, I know where this is.
Yeah.
I can feel it. I can taste
it's an oppressive atmosphere,
the pollution in the air, and that's what the book is missing. In 1 second, you could look at a screen cap of that, and you could know what the street would look like. You could smell the air and breathe in the heavy pollution and that sort of thing. And it's just that kind of basic bang. This is where we are, and then you go from there.
Yeah. Where I sort of disagree, and I think that the book probably would benefit from a bit more descriptors, but I think that the book, the atmosphere of the city and indeed the book itself is one of sort of like lifelessness, or maybe half-life would be a better term. And so I think in that regard, I kind of like the lack of description because it seems like a very dead place and like oppressive in terms of the like nuclear fallout.
Tell me it's oppressive through how it looks. Tell me that the clouds are like sagging down and they're heavy and they're like bloated and gray. Just don't, like, instead of just not even talking about,
I think they do talk about it though to an extent.
Not really. I'm just amazed that Ridley read this book, Ridley Scott, and then made this film, and then when Philip K. Dick saw the movie, he was like unnerved by how accurate it was to his vision. Yeah. That's a
Which
wonder
is very
to
interesting.
Me. It's a wonder to me how he got that level of detail, or maybe he just flew out of the seat of pants, or maybe Philip lied.
Yeah.
Anyway, the soundtrack to the film is one of the best soundtracks ever, I think. This like really this kind of soaring oriental inflected synth thing that just meshes with that hazy, modified,
Seedy.
retrofitted future look.
Yeah.
I think the film looks absolutely astounding, and like every time I watch it, I'm just blown back by how good it still looks to me. And there's only one scene where he walks out onto his balcony with like a blanket over his shoulders where I go, that doesn't look that great. Like I can tell where the set painting starts and where the actual physical set ends. But for the most part, like I find it completely immersive, as immersive or more immersive indeed than like any film that could be made today. Or not could be made today. Sorry, is normally like you watch Pirates of the Caribbean. This looks way better than Pirates of the Caribbean. Way better.
Here's where we disagree so much. I gotta try and speak my mind well here. This is a gorgeous movie, and I think it almost never puts a foot wrong in terms of looking beautiful and complementing the story, and indeed the visual storytelling and world building is just phenomenal. And I think that the movie basically always looks gorgeous, but I don't know about immersive, because I think that a lot of like the scenes of the spaceships flying around and stuff, they look fantastic and they're very artistic in the way they're presented, but I don't think they look realistic or like what it would look like if that were real.
No, but the fact is, the film is cohesive with itself.
Yeah.
You never are on a ground eye view of Harrison Ford walking along an actual physical set with real rain coming down and smoke blowing along, and then it cuts to the miniature model of the flying car flying along, and it's never jarring.
Yeah, that's true.
That's what I'm saying. The film never, jars, and there's never really a jagged edge as far as that goes. You never really see that's what's immersive to me about it.
Yeah.
You were saying last time we watched it that you didn't think, like, say, the buildings and stuff looked real.
Yeah.
But that's in this world they look real. It's impossible to say that doesn't look real because nothing that crazy exists.
I guess it's just, and I don't even know if this is a bad thing, because I kind of get irritated when people, I don't know, say like a car jumps off a bridge and people's like, that's not realistic. Because I'm like, well, it's a story. It's not really supposed to be. But at the same time, I contradict myself, because it kind of bugs me that I feel like it just doesn't sell to me that, not that this isn't real, but I want to believe that this could be real. And I feel like as beautiful as it is, and it is shot so well, it just doesn't make me think like, wow, it looks like this could exist one day, even in an abstract sense.
I completely disagree. Like, I think that the humanity of the setting of the city is like so evident. It's oozing out of every single frame.
Yeah, and the only scenes that really detach me at all are those spaceship scenes, because even though I think they're cool, like I said, they just don't convince me.
See, I don't get that.
But all of the, like, when he's towards the beginning, Deckard's like sitting at some, I guess, like a restaurant,
It's a noodle bar,
in like this seedy area, which it seems that all of Earth is seedy since most of the upper class has colonized Mars. But when you're down there and like you see the clouds and like the neon lights and like the smog drifting through the streets, like it looks perfect, and that is when the movie sells itself to me.
And I've never watched any of the special effects and been like,
yeah, that I actually agree with.
Well, but you don't, because you just said that you don't like the cars and stuff. But but for me, I look at that and I look at the opening shot, which is a massive shot of the entire city, and that looks so real to me. It's not even that it looks real, it's that it looks so good.
Yeah, it
looks so right. And you watch this, and then you watch like one of the early Star Wars movies.
Oh man,
this
there's no comparison.
Murders the early Star Wars movies for how it looks.
But this was made quite a while after, was it not?
Well, there are 3 initial Star Wars movies.
Yeah. So when was 4 made? Because this is 82.
4 was one like in the 90s, man. Like that was one of the. Yeah.
Wasn't 4 the first one?
So 77 was the first one. 1980 and 83. 83, Return of the Jedi. This is in 82.
So, no, A New Hope was the first one released, wasn't it? Or was 6?
Star Wars, I
don't know Star Wars very well.
Man.
Jeez.
77, 80, and then 83. So we'll just go with 83 because that's the closest one. Return of the Jedi. There's really, it looks...
Scroll up. I want to see when The New Hope was.
This
is that
will
A New
be
Hope?
it. I think this is A New Hope. Yeah.
Okay.
77.
Yeah.
So quite a while. But Return of the Jedi, this blows Return of the Jedi out of the water in terms of how it looks.
In terms of everything, frankly.
Yeah. Okay, there are weird differences between the book and the film. Namely names. So the character, what was his name? John Isidore, who a man of subpar IQ who aids the fugitive androids. He kind of hides them in his apartment, which he does to an extent in the film, but his name's J.S. Sebastian.
Yeah.
Which
instead of J.R. Isidore.
Yeah, and in the book he works for an electric animal repair shop.
Mm-hmm.
In the film he programs DNA for androids or something.
Which is interesting because
in
the book, the reason he's on Earth is because he's been affected by radiation to the extent that his IQ is below the cutoff for people who can go to Mars, so he's stuck on Earth.
So that's just like a weird, like there's some differences where I just think, why did you change that? Like it doesn't detract from either, but it's just a strange, because the androids all have the same names.
Do they?
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah.
Okay.
Pris Stratton's
is Roy Batty in the book?
Yeah, but in the book, Roy Beatty has a wife.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is weird because they're androids, but whatever.
Yeah. But in the film, he's kind of with Pris a little bit, I think.
Yeah.
But anyway, so there are some weird differences like that. Now things. Let me just make sure. Okay, so those are all the differences I can think of right now.
Yeah.
Weird names. Make sure we're still recording. Yes. Okay, so now for things I like more from the film. We're talking about some things I like more from the book, namely the fact that he's got a wife and she's the emotional center. Rachel's the blah blah blah, and the character pivot in the end. Really like all that stuff. Also, I feel like the book's ending, it kind of fizzles out a little bit.
I disagree. I love the ending.
It fizzles out and then it ends well. But I felt like it fit. No, scratch that. I like the
whole when he's like,
I
really liked.
So things that I like more in the film. Hey, he just footsied me underneath the table.
Would you eat the moon if it were made of sparrows?
So the things I like in the film, Roy Beatty, the leader of the androids, meets with his creator at a certain stage and has a conversation, and I think that conversation is amazing.
Yeah,
I think that does in one short scene what most of this book was trying to say. In terms of what do the androids want, and I think it did it in a convincing way that didn't feel especially contrived.
Yeah, that's an interesting point.
The Rutger Hauer, who acts out Roy Beatty, is probably the best actor in the movie.
Yes.
Which I think is pretty universally accepted at this point, just because of his
chilling performance,
his final speech in the movie. But the conversation between Beatty and Tyrell, those two characters, I think is important.
Yeah.
And it does a great service to the themes of both the book and the film. That being said, with Roy Beatty, it's not perfect. It's not a perfect movie. One of the things that I noticed when we were... What?
I just have a funny thing to point out.
One of the things that I noticed when we were watching it this latest time is that in one of the conversations between JS and Beatty, the lip syncing for Beatty is like way off.
Really?
Like it's a shot of like part of his jaw, and he's talking with JS, and JS is sitting there, and you can see him, and Beatty is talking, but you can clearly see his jaw is not moving. Like Rutger Hauer was not talking in that shot, and that really, I just noticed that the last time. I was like, oh geez, oh no. So that was like one of the only awkward. But anyway, I just say that because that I just came to that in my notes. Anyway, the confrontation between the last of the androids in the book is, in my mind, almost inarguably inferior to the confrontation between Deckard and Beatty in the film. In the film, there's this, like, legendary scene now, of course, but I love the confrontation between the two of them. It's such a weird, quote-unquote, fight, which is basically, and I don't think this is really a spoiler, it's a game of hide and seek between Beatty and Deckard in this dilapidated, falling down apartment building, and Deckard's trying to escape, and he's crawling through like a deteriorated patch of ceiling, and and you're disoriented, and you don't know where he's going, and it's just weird. It's completely strange, but I just love it. Like it feels really believable, and that's back to one of the things that I really connect with about this film is how much I kind of feel like I'm in that situation, pretty much at all times. And I think the powerful thing at the end of the film, and this will be a light spoiler, but it's really just a character motivation spoiler, is that at the end of the day, Beatty, the android, has more humanity than Deckard, the human, Ridley Scott. Deckard is not an android. He is a human, you idiot.
That's a spoiler. I wouldn't say that.
What do you mean? No, it's not a spoiler.
I guess
it's not said in the film.
I guess in the film that's okay.
Like, it's completely left open, and then Ridley Scott's like, guess what? He's an android. And everybody's like, no.
No, he's not.
But at the end, Beatty, the android, has more humanity than the human because he doesn't kill him. He doesn't want to kill him. You know, he wants to feel alive.
He wants Deckard to feel fear, though, also.
He does, I think.
He says that.
He does, yeah. But he doesn't, like, he could have killed him.
Yeah. Well, then he wouldn't be feeling fear. I think he just wanted Deckard to, like, suffer mentally as much as he could.
I don't think that he really wanted him to suffer. I think he wanted him to understand. I think he wanted a relationship between him and Deckard. I don't think that he wanted to antagonize Deckard. I don't think he did antagonize Deckard because he saved him and then gave him that lovely speech.
Yeah.
You know, which, you know, whatever.
Now we've just spoiled the whole end, basically.
No, we haven't. Nobody knows what happens.
I guess not.
You whiny little sniveling.
We've said quite a
animal.
bit too much.
Yes, we have not said quite a bit too much.
Okay.
You would not quite a bit too much.
All right. Okay.
Off a bridge.
Kind of the talking stick.
Sure. Also, Deckard is not a replicant.
Blade Runner, I'm going to get this out of the way initially, is one of the great classics of all time. I wouldn't say it's one of my favorite movies of all time, but I definitely love it. I think we've already said everything that needs to be said about most of its strengths, so I'm mostly just going to talk negatively about it. Bear in mind, I love the film, but we've already covered the good things, basically. The film has some amount of ambiguity that I don't like. Like we talked about, is Deckard a replicant? Is he not? I feel like now Ridley Scott's playing that off as a plot point, but I feel like that was probably just something he never tied up initially.
The hint at that, at the ambiguity, you don't like the ambiguity or you do?
Do not. See,
but here's the thing. It's a neo-noir. This Blade Runner as a film, very much noir. And noir is all about, noir meaning dark, of course. Noir is all about the darkness, both of the theme and of the, you know, the actual film itself. And ambiguity is like part of noir. Like, you can't, that's the kind of film.
But here's the thing. If you read the book, there are certain topics that maybe we can talk about after the show. I'm not going to talk about it now. Oh, here he goes. But in the book, there are things that they don't say explicitly, but if you think hard and you're smart about it, you can reasonably come to fact-based conclusions. In the book, I feel like they just don't give you enough information to do that. I think the book respects your intelligence enough that you can actually extend what happens in the book by drawing conclusions from
You're
information
just saying
they
that
give you.
the movie's too ambiguous. How can this be too ambiguous and you're saying you like the ambiguity of the book?
Because I feel like the book equips you to figure out what happens.
But that's also the fact that it's a book. Like, you can't work
maybe.
the same tricks in a film.
I think you can. I think that
you can't. Because you can't go, he thought this in a movie. The same way you can say, Roy thought he was pregnant.
Okay.
But he wasn't.
Another thing that I think is just completely dumb about Blade Runner, and this is kind of a minor thing. I pointed this out to you last time. At one point, Roy Batty calls out to Deckard by name. I have no idea how he would know Deckard's name.
Why are you...
There's no point where they talk
Playing
about him
with my
on screen. There's no time when they're introduced or when JS talks about I just don't know how he would know who that was.
I've been thinking long and hard on that, and I feel like there almost certainly has to be a logical explanation.
I don't think there is.
I think there has to be. Namely, it could easily be, Batty is a very hyper intelligent android. He could have easily done a little research, done a little stalking, discovered who this Deckard dude was as he was, on the job. That's a theory. I mean, I get what you're saying.
I think it's just poor exposition or lack of exposition if something like that's the case. Because then watch it.
I'm inferring from the rest of the presented evidence, just like you did in the book.
But there's no presented evidence. You're saying, I'm guessing that maybe he researched it?
Well, I mean, I think that it just doesn't seem like... It just seems like a real weird thing for them to overlook.
I think it's super weird.
I think we should watch the film again together sometime.
Maybe so.
And see, because I just feel like there has to be some qualification for that familiarity.
Yeah, I just think it's if it's there, not readily apparent. And then also with Blade Runner, so Rutger Hauer's performance is phenomenal. Harrison Ford does a good job. What's the actor of Pris? What's her name? Do you know?
Yes. Darn it, she's in Kill Bill.
Daryl Hannah?
Yeah, Daryl Hannah.
Daryl Hannah. Look at me. I think she did a great job. I feel like a lot of the cast was not great, to be honest. I looked up the name of this man. I wish I could remember his name.
Most of them.
Well, I named 3 of them. I think that the first replicant, the guy you see in the intro, do not like his performance at all. I feel like it was decently lackluster.
But here's the thing, though. He's a dumb replicant. He's really dumb. He's got a very low IQ. He's used for picking up boxes. Literally,
Yeah.
That's his job.
I know.
I think he does a pretty good job in that opening scene where he's being interrogated of looking super panicked and stupid.
Yeah, I guess.
That's what you want from the guy.
Can androids panic if they don't experience emotions?
I guess they kind of do. They kind of do in the book. Yeah, they do in the book. They totally do in the book.
Yeah, but we're talking about the movie.
I'm just saying. Well, the movie is based on the book, Jason.
But I would say that in the book, androids play a very different role than in the movie. I would say it's a little bit more convoluted in the book.
Yeah, but you have to, we can't, you can judge one as just a film and one as just a book. But also, since the nature of this podcast, the Good Ship Brothership, hey, how's it going? And the nature of, the fact that one's based on the other, you can, infer certain things from the book and apply them to the film.
Yeah, that's fair. But I just think it's also,
I don't think
you shouldn't need to.
Let me put it this way. Well, we are. That's what we're doing. That's what we're here to do. Let me put it this way. I don't think that I can't remember that guy's name. I don't think that his performance is. It doesn't take me out of the film at all. At all. He's definitely not good.
I'm just saying I think it was a lackluster performance. I'm not saying he's horrible.
Yeah, he's not supposed to be a main character by any stretch of the imagination. Although it would be nice if he felt a little more... It would be nice if you just felt a little more towards him.
Yeah, exactly. Breon James, that's his name. Which is...
Brian James.
No, look it up. Google it. Google it.
I know, but it's pronounced Brian.
It is?
Yeah.
Why don't you shoot me in the head?
Brian. See?
But... Wow. Guys,
Brian James.
if you name your son Brian, just
He's in The Fifth Element too.
spell it with an A.
He didn't do a whole lot.
And then also, and I don't know if this is a fair critique, because, I mean, the movie's only 2 hours long.
Man, he's been a lot back.
But, whoa,
Is
no
that
kidding.
Hitler?
Yeah,
You know
looks
what?
like it.
You know,
it's called, what is it called?
Snide and Prejudice. Pterodactyl Woman
man.
from Beverly Hills.
Oh, nice. He's in that.
Coming up next on the Good Ship Brothership.
He was in Time Runner, which is the sequel to Blade Runner.
All right, let's stop looking at this. Okay, what were you saying?
I think that the book tackles way more interesting topics than the movie.
I
I
think they tackle a lot of the same topics in a different way.
I like how Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep has like this commentary on like extremely corporate religion kind of thing.
True, that's not touched on literally at all in the film.
So in the book, there's something called what's it
Mercerism.
called? Mercerism. But I was thinking of the box. Empathy box, maybe.
I think it's just called the empathy.
And basically, the main tenet of Mercerism is that there's this box with a screen on it. You grab the handles, and you are placed sort of in the consciousness of this old man, Mercer, who's like their semi-deity.
He's like their kind of messianic figure, I guess.
And the story goes that he was like cast into the land of the dead kind of thing. And is trying to climb back out, and people keep throwing rocks at him, and you like experience his consciousness, and it's supposed to be something that helps you be more empathetic and stuff like that. And then diametrically opposed to this, and this also isn't covered in the film, is Buster Friendly, who is this TV presenter who manages to broadcast radio shows and television and stuff like that 23 hours a day. So it's strongly suggested he's an android.
Well, they say he's an android.
Do they say he's an android?
Yeah.
In the plot summary I was reading, they said that it's just implied.
Some people say he's an android.
Yeah, but I don't think it's known.
Yeah, the book doesn't really tell you anything.
But then he goes against Mercerism, and he seems to be an android. But at the same time, he is also like trying to get this mob mentality kind of thing against this other mob mentality, and I just think it's a really interesting commentary.
Again, they're two different diametrically opposed sides, or are they?
Yeah, exactly. And I think it's a really interesting commentary on the perils of ascribing to a religion or any group. It doesn't have to be a religion. Any sect of people purely because of the whole mob factor. So I find that a really interesting topic. I think the book blurs the lines between what it means to be human and android more so. And I think
you really think so?
Yeah, and I think that a big part of that is the animals as well, because of
I think
I can't get into all that.
I think that the animals, especially the final one that he comes upon, the small one.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Okay, just making sure, because there's not a glimmer of comprehension in your,
my dead eyes,
dim fish eyes.
Yeah.
I think that I felt more compassion for the electric animals than I did for the androids, because you really don't spend much time with the androids discussing their motives and their like thoughts more than you get in that last scene between Batty and Deckard in the film. In the film, that final scene gives me like everything, and that's kind of like that's the big reveal.
Yeah,
in a lot of ways. And I think that was a beautifully done. And let's not forget, the ending of the book is very powerful, but for different characters in different ways.
Yeah.
And different conclusions are reached, which, now that I'm thinking about it, that's a really extraordinary thing. That these two, they're very loosely based. Loosely tied together. But they really reach completely separate conclusions on totally different topics.
And I would like to say, as a sort of a non sequitur, this is a pairing where if you've seen one, don't forego the other. Because I do that sometimes for sure, where if I've seen the movie, I will be like, well, I'm not going to read the book because I kind of like it. I've already lived it. But this is easily different enough that you can experience both and be surprised by both.
Yeah.
And then, where else was I going with that? Oh, I was just going to say that in terms of understanding the androids, I actually think that the book does do a fantastic job, and the scene I think of that explains them and shows that they're actually quite different than they are in the movie is where they go to JS's apartment.
Yeah.
Or he's JR in the book.
Also, just to let you know, speaking of novel and film things, Forrest Gump was a novel before it was a film.
I knew that. I watched Forrest Gump for the first time yesterday, but that's a different discussion for a different day.
Very charming.
Great movie. But I like when they go to JR's apartment and there's a spider in the sink and they start clipping off its legs one by one to see how few legs it requires to move. Just like, not even as like a mean thing, just like out of curiosity. And I think that is like a super telling scene about their total lack of empathy. And so I find scenes like that in the book actually very powerful.
Yeah, because in the film too, it was more focused on they do have empathy. Yeah. They do have feelings, like legitimate feelings that are as legitimate as they have more feelings than Deckard. Like that's for sure.
Or do they?
And in the film, that was kind of a weird because he's kind of trying to humanize them, and then he just went and did that. And he really, in the book, really doesn't try to make you feel sympathy or love towards the androids nearly as much as they try to in the film.
Yeah, I don't know. I sort of disagree with that, but we can't really get into that.
No, yeah. I think I
disagree.
I think I prefer the characters of the androids, broadly speaking, in the film more than in the book.
Yeah.
Yeah. Especially Batty and Rachel. I like both of those characters quite a bit more.
And then, in closing, I would say both are phenomenal. I think I like the book more. I feel like the book is more complete and it feels like it wastes no time, but it's also not rushed. Although I would say the same of the movie. I love the book's purposeful colorness and colorlessness. And I know that you said that was something that you didn't like, but I found it helped me visualize more in a way. And as I've seen Blade Runner, you do sort of apply things from Blade Runner to the book visually.
We both read the book after seeing the movie.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah,
for sure.
So I would say if you experience one and you like reading and movies, read the book. I think you'd probably disagree. But I think both are great, and you should do both if you can.
I think the movie is a more remarkable experience than reading the book. The book is well written. It's good, with only that one major flaw, that weird sidestep. I think the movie is still underrated. And still...
You think so?
Yeah. Well, not underrated, I guess. I think it's still a bit of
underwatched.
Yeah, it's kind of a hidden gem. I think everybody should see it.
Yeah, I agree with that.
I think it's a shame that a movie like this, which is quiet and intelligent, so much more low key, so much more. I know I just said intelligent, but intelligent than something like Star Wars.
Yeah.
Any of the Star Wars movies could hope to be, looks infinitely better.
It's gorgeous.
And there's no way that you can. Please tell me you agree that it looks better than most movies that are made today.
Oh yeah.
And that you'd rather watch it.
Of course,
and that the look of it is more compelling than most films that have ever been made.
As I said, I should reiterate, I think sometimes it didn't sell me on the fact that could have been a reality, as it were. But I never think it's to its detriment. Yeah, that's what I was saying, is I still enjoy the shots of the spaceships. Sometimes it pulls me out of the experience a little bit, but I mean,
and that's so interesting,
colors and the framing.
I really didn't find it that the which is kind of surprising. I think it's more so that I think they're just shot really tastefully, and we're saying all this artsy stuff, but at the end of the day, Blade Runner is just an amazingly good. If you watch a movie, yes, Jason, I see you.
I just wanted to make that face.
If you watch movies now, like something terrible like Transformers or whatever, and you think, oh, that's way too much just crashing and banging and exploding and useless, terrible dialogue and sexism, watch Blade Runner, because you'll be rewarded with an intelligent, strong, thought-provoking, and beautiful experience, and you will not regret it.
Yeah.
Not on Netflix, by the way.
The only last statement I want to make on in terms of review, and then I think I'm done, that I loved about Blade Runner, didn't notice till the last time, is the progression in the way it's shot. All through the beginning, 2/3, 3/4 of the film, there's almost no moving cameras, like
Yeah,
a few
it's
times,
a lot of static
but it's
shots.
almost all static. And then towards the end, there's so much more motion in the way it's shot, and it's just a great progression that helps increase like tension and stuff like that. That's just a cinematographic,
I don't know.
a cinematography compliment. I think that's really well done. Yeah.
Yeah, and this film makes such a strong case to me for the classic old cinema tricks of smoke and mirrors and using tiny models to build things and build worlds, because it does just have this tactile human touch to it that CGI, although I would never, throw the baby out with the bathwater, I think the practical effects used in this film make a more human world than green screen can ever hope to do. And anyway.
Pull up the doc for what we're looking at next time.
Oh geez.
Do we know?
I don't even know if we know what we're doing next time.
Let's decide.
Yeah, okay. Go here, there. Brothership.
Normally we decide at
List
least
of all the times Dallas wants to die.
at least once. I don't know what I was saying. Okay, hang on. Let me collect my thoughts.
We decide at least once.
Normally we decide at least like one show ahead of time we're gonna do, but I think we forgot to do that.
Yeah, we're not behind, but we might be.
No, we're not really. We're around on time.
Okay, so. Oh man, we did that, didn't we?
My. Yeah.
This is quite behind. Oh,
This is actually
very cringy, everybody.
okay. Oh my, we should almost add an addendum afterwards once we decide.
Okay. Ho, Jason. Our recording software dropped out there. It was just us chattering a little bit, but it was this.
It was pretty quality stuff.
Well, it was really quality.
We had this
actually.
it was like super candid, sound like we stopped recording, but then we were talking about
all the money we don't actually get from Johnny Greenwood,
although
and the Radiohead guys,
but we do. Yeah.
Oh, well,
but not officially. In the Cayman Islands, but this is in the Cayman Islands. Yeah. So
you get the gist.
Yeah.
Bye, everybody.
Okay, let it run for a while.